Hi there. In a world where nothing is certain, that means anything is possible, right? If you want to fulfill your dreams and desires, you are in the right place. You absolutely can have a life of happiness. Everyone deserves an abundance of love, laughter, success, health, and wealth. I'm Tara Chadzakis, and you're listening to the Happy, Inspired, Motivated podcast. The show that brings you meditation, mindset, and motivation. So start by giving yourself permission to be awesome. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Hi, and welcome to this episode of Happy, Inspired, Motivated. Today I'm interviewing Eric, who is, according to his bio, a black belt hand washer, who also has a deep knowledge in the science of building courageous and emotionally intelligent mindsets. And we get to talk about that in this interview. And it's really, really interesting, some of the insights he has about not being the past version of yourself, but stepping into the new version and being open to becoming somebody new and growing. He's also the author of a book called Swipe Right on Your Best Self. And we talk about that a little bit as well in the interview. It comes from obviously Tinder, as many people in the online dating world know. And he's saying that, you have to love yourself first, which is so important. Something that we have to understand as entrepreneurs is we have to practice self-care and self-love. And we often neglect to do that. So Eric's talking about how you can do that the best, a few steps that you can take and really get you to fall in love with yourself, which will create a different version of yourself going forward. Because, as Einstein said in one of his famous quotes, if you keep doing the same things over and over again, you can't expect different results. Okay, maybe that wasn't an exact quote, but it was close enough. So listen to the episode. I hope you walk away with lots of aha moments, and let's get to know Eric a little bit better. Hi, Eric, and welcome to Happy, Inspired, Motivated. How are you doing today?
Tara, thank you for having me. I'm doing very well. Hello from evening here in Sydney, Australia.
Yes, I know. When I'm reading your timeline, when I'm reading about where you're from and everything, I thought you would have a British accent, and I just imagined you're in England. That's great. I know you've traveled around a lot, but automatically English. So
yeah, well, according to people here, I do have an English accent. So it doesn't, I go back to the UK, I've got people like you saying, oh, where are you from, Eric? Where are you from? Funny voice. And here they're going, oh, you've got a funny voice. Yeah, where are you from? So yeah, I've no home. I'm homeless, it feels like. Oh. But yes, this is my voice, such as it is.
Perfect as it is. So you're actually born in England. So tell me a little bit about where you started out from and your journey, because I know you moved around quite a lot, and how that came about as well.
Yeah, how long do we have, Tara?
God.
I know. I'm going to have to just pluck out one or two highlights, I guess. So look, the key elements of my timeline. I grew up by the seaside. I had a lovely childhood growing up.
Nice.
Looking for crabs and prawns in rock pools. Actually, in Broadstairs. Have you been down to Broadstairs? Southeast coast.
It's I live on the Isle of Wight now, so
okay.
I'm by the sea.
I'm just to your left. If you look south and you turned left, I was to the left. Yeah. In Kent coast. Had a great time growing up there, and my father died when I was 5, so I watched my mother step up into the role of breadwinner, and she started her own business. Selling socks and stockings. So I watched a very courageous woman who hadn't worked before. She was an officer's wife. So my father was in the Royal Air Force, and officers' wives didn't work, Tara.
No.
But suddenly she did. She did it. She had 2 little boys, and she took care of us both and started the business, and she took us out with her. So we would get up early, crack of dawn, and go out and watch her sell socks, and then we'd join her when we were older. So that was that
like a market stall?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Market stalls. Yeah, 4 times a week we go out. Okay. And Looking back, I think it was really good in teaching me a work ethic.
Mm.
You've got to do it yourself. You've got to make things happen.
Yeah.
And it was also useful just for developing skills in communication with people, because you meet an awful lot of different people. When you're at a market stall, you get used to talking. So that's been quite handy in my life. But I was there for a while, but then I developed a real interest in biology and ecology and all things wildlife and fishy and forests and stuff. And I went off to Edinburgh to learn about ecology.
Okay.
And how things fit together in the world.
Yeah.
And I had a fabulous time up there. And I thought I was going to stay in Edinburgh. It was such a nice place.
Mm.
Wanted to be the next David Attenborough. Didn't happen, Tara.
Obviously.
I got over my, you've not seen me much on the BBC.
No, I'm sorry. I don't recognize your face.
It's true. But instead, I was sucked into the world of computer consultancy.
Yeah, that is completely different to ecology. How on earth did you find that?
Yeah, I can't. Yeah, there's no good explanation except when I went to university in Edinburgh, and as I say, I learned all about animals and wildlife and ecology. And at the end of that, they had this careers advisory service, and we did these assessments. And they said, "Oh, you know what you'd be good at? What? You'd be good at technical sales." What? And I'd never laid fingers on a computer keyboard in my life. You want to do technical sales? But it turned out they were right. They turned out it was really good. And I had lots of opportunity in IBM over a 20-year career. I worked in Scotland, Germany for 3 years, the Middle East for 2 years, Australia for 20 years, learning and talking to people about how they could solve problems with technology. And the best part of it was talking. I really enjoyed just giving lectures, giving demonstrations, running facilitation workshops, sharing knowledge, and trying to make the complicated simple, trying to make what's a little bit difficult to get your head around accessible to people.
Yeah.
So I did that for the longest time. And then what happened was I noticed that it didn't matter where I was in the world, Tara, whether it was the Middle East and that culture, or in Munich, very different culture in Bavaria, I can tell you, in the workplace, or the UK. So in the Middle East, they're very keen on relationships. That's got priority. Relationships matter. In Germany, it's about getting work done, and results matter. They're very task-oriented. But it didn't matter where I was in the world. When the pressure was on, there would be leaders who, under pressure, regardless of how clever they were or how much experience they had, they were leaders who could keep it together when they were really under pressure. And there's a lot of pressure in the IT world. Computers are continually failing. The ATM system, the cash machines, you call them in the UK, the cash machine system, when it goes down, I tell you, there's a lot of phones start ringing in the computer company. When the Qantas ticketing system goes down, when people can't buy airline tickets, not such a big deal today, mind you, but in pre-pandemic times, and hopefully post-pandemic times, it matters. You've got to keep these systems up.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of pressure. And there were managers who would hold it together. They get the best out of themselves and get the best out of their teams. They work really well. And they'd fix problems quickly, regardless of the mayhem that was happening around them. And then there were leaders who would begin to get anxious. They'd begin to panic, and they'd contaminate the people they worked with their anxiety. And problems would take perhaps 5-7 times longer to solve. And at first I thought it was because they were more intelligent or brighter or had more experience. And it wasn't that. They were equally bright, experienced people in both camps. So I took a step back, and I've had a wonderful time learning about the science of human performance, the science of human behavior. And I've indulged myself, taking a really deep dive into what are the conditions under which people do their best work. When are we at our best? What are the strategies we can use to manage our minds that really work? not the ones we'd like to think work, but what are the ones that there's actually some evidence
that actually do work. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, because you you look at the self-help books in the bookstore now. There's a row upon row of, a lot of it is fiction. It's just wishful thinking. But there's a science behind what does work. And I've ended up with 2 Masters of Science degrees in human behavior and human performance. And for the last 12 years, I've been sharing that knowledge mostly with organizations, helping leaders to get better at doing their best work, forming relationships that matter, crafting and architecting meaningful careers.
Yeah.
And the lovely thing about it is the same skills that people learn to work well in the office when we used to go into offices, that same set of skills can be used at home to manage ourselves, to have really fulfilling relationships.
So how do you work with people now then? I'm presuming it's all about the leadership and that kind of getting the best out of people in your team, for example.
Yeah, it all starts with self-leadership, actually. But before we can start influencing others, we need to influence ourselves helpfully. So what I do, first of all, with teams of people is help people to identify what do they care about. It all begins with discovering what's meaningful to them.
Okay, yeah.
And meaning is something we construct ourselves. What would be a really meaningful career look like from their perspective? What would be happening? What strengths would they be able to practice? What skills would they be developing? So we explore people's personal strengths, get them to architect the kind of people they would like to be.
Who they want to become.
Yes, absolutely. And it becomes a great word because our entire lives are processes of becoming. We never get there. It's a journey. It's a journey. Yeah. No one ever says there. Phew, no need to practice anymore. I've done it all.
Yeah.
You look at people at the top of their game in sport, for example, the golfers, the tennis players. None of them stop practicing. No. No, I don't need to. Thank God that's done. No. And it's the same at work. We continually craft and get better and practice. And so I teach people, 1, to decide what kind of leaders do they want to be, and 2, to then develop some emotional intelligence skills to manage themselves so that they can show up more often as the kind of people they'd like to be, even when they're challenged, even when the pressure is on. And these are skills. It's just skills. It's not capability that people have or don't have. They're just sets of skills. And it doesn't matter where you are at the moment. Every single one of us can get better at making the difficult choices. Anyone can make an easy choice when the pressure's off, but actually showing up, doing what's hard, doing what needs courage, under challenging circumstances, actually still choosing to do the right thing is it's an ability. And the good news is, we can all get better at doing that.
Yeah, and like you say, because it's always we're always becoming. So, even though if somebody came and they did a training with you, a workshop, and they architected who they want to become, and they had all this sort of crafted out, and then when they get there, then it changes again, doesn't it? They have to go to the next level and enhance those skills more, even.
Yes, that's right. And mostly what we plan is an ultimate destination they'd like to get to, an ultimate destination. But most of the time, we actually spend our time working on the skills to stay on course, because all of us will get reactive and impulsive and look for ways to self-soothe and take an easy out when things get hard.
Yeah.
So the bulk of our time we spend on developing skills to be with discomfort, not to try to immediately self-soothe, but to find a way to be alongside it. And I noticed, looking through, doing my own research on you, Tara, that you have an interest in meditation. And this is such a wonderful approach to developing resilience
Mm.
and being able to be present and less reactive.
Yes.
So developing mindfulness skills is at the core of the work I do.
You're creating resilience from within, aren't you? And you're drawing from your inner power rather than looking at external factors. Definitely.
Yes. Yeah. It's all an inner game.
Yeah. Yeah, it is, definitely.
At the end of the day, it's an inner game.
Hi there, this is me popping into my own episode. It's Tara Chadzakis here. I'd just love to invite you to have a call with me just to see how we can help you move forward and really make changes in your life that are going to be life-changing. I know from personal experience that, you want to move into a different mindset, or you want to have attract more abundance, love, joy, and laughter into your life. And people say to you, do the positive thinking and positive affirmations and all of these things. But often when you're in the space where you really need that change, it's hard because you can't imagine a different reality. You can't envisage what life could look like. And that's where I come in. So I can help you overcome those obstacles and really get you tapping into the universal energies that create abundance, love, and joy and laughter. So I'm going to put a link in the show notes so that you can book yourself a call with me. It's no obligation whatsoever. Just find out where you are and what kind of things I could help you with if you're looking to make the change today. And also just give you a few tips to help you on your way, whether or not we work together. So I'll leave it in the notes for you, and let's continue with the episode. So you live now in Sydney. It is Sydney, isn't it? Okay.
It is.
And do you still work primarily with large companies, or do you work more with individuals?
So my work is split into two. I deliver workshops online to large organizations.
Yeah.
So it's the BMWs, the IBMs, the Accenture, big companies, and I'll train people there. But something I'm doing, which is quite fun in the near future, is I'm organizing a retreat for well-being and resilience for people who are in the health industry.
Nice.
So these are health practice managers who have been really under the gun for the last year or so. You can imagine the people have been working so hard. And so we're running a retreat, myself and a colleague, to give them a chance to recover and teach them some skills to build their own well-being and to take care of themselves.
Yeah, because people who are in that industry are taking care of others all the time, aren't they? And they're going to get run down, and they don't think about themselves quite often, like I say, with the stress as well.
They really don't. They really don't. And yes, on the one hand, it's very rewarding for these people to take care of others, but they're less likely to actually say, no, enough, I need a bit of space for myself.
Yeah.
So they do need some help. Well, and that requires courage too.
Yeah.
It also requires courage to say, no, that's enough work. I need to look after myself so that I can look after others.
Yeah, self-care is so important, but people do feel selfish taking care of themselves, don't they? They think that
they can do.
Yeah, they can. It's like taking time out for yourself, even like we were talking about meditation, taking that 10, 15 minutes or whatever it is. You think, oh, well, actually, I should be doing something else. I shouldn't be wasting time on this because this isn't important. But it sets you up for a different day, and it gives you a different outlook on things. So it is really important to take care of yourself in the first place. So
it is. And I think you hit the nail on the head there. There's this sense at the time that we may have planned to do some meditation or some other self-care exercise, there's always 50 other things that need attention now.
Yeah.
And they're insistent, they're on your mind. And it requires a great deal, I think, of self-compassion to actually say, no, right now, the priority is self-care so that I can be even more effective. Yeah. And that's the lovely thing. We are phenomenally more effective if we can do the meditation, if we can get the good night's sleep.
Yeah.
Not just the duration, but the high quality. It's ordinary things like that. Eating well, drinking well, moving.
Yeah.
Those three things, movement, what we eat, and our sleep, make a profound impact on our capacity to choose well the next day.
So tell me a little bit about your books. I know you published a book. Was it last year? It came out in 2020.
Yes, that's right. It was written pre-pandemic. I was typing the last few words as this cataclysm exploded on the planet. Who would have known? Who would have known?
God knows.
Yeah, but it's called Swipe Right on Your Best Self. Simple steps to a bolder life with fewer regrets.
So what do you mean by swipe right? Are we talking about like Tinder? Is that what it's from?
Well, this is where the expression comes from. Now, no, swipe right would have meant nothing to anyone not that long ago. Tinder's a really new app.
Yeah.
But for people who are listening, I'm sure we've all heard of it, but it's the most downloaded dating app. And in Tinder, you are presented with one face and a bit of a profile, one after the other. I liken it to a sushi train. Have you got sushi trains, Tara, where you are? Sushi restaurant.
Not on the Isle of Wight, but on the mainland, yeah.
On the
on the Mother Isle.
Yeah, on the Mother Isle, yes. Where one plate comes to you after another. You get to choose. Do I want to take this plate of sushi? Do I like the look of that? Do I take it or do I let it pass? Yeah. Tinder's a bit like that. Presented one person at a time. Would I like to spend time with this person or should I let them pass? If you like the look of them, you swipe right. Okay. Now, we spend a lot of time thinking about who we want to go out with, all right, who we want to marry, who we want to be in a relationship with.
Yeah.
But there's someone that we spend a lot more time with in our lives. And it's right? Right. It's ourselves.
And we don't always like ourselves either, do we?
Oh, often not. But it's actually, I called the book Swipe Right on Your Best Self because it's truly a choice. What kind of person you are going to be and what qualities you're going to demonstrate today is a choice. You really do get to decide. It doesn't matter what happened yesterday. Today is a fresh new day. It's never happened before. Every minute that comes to you is unused and it's swollen with potential.
Yeah.
And so our competency that we need to develop is the ability throughout our days, as challenges appear, to decide, okay, what would the kind of person I want to be do now? And swipe right on that kind of a person. Make that choice.
That's really powerful. What would the person that I want to be do now? That's a different mindset completely. Not what would I do in this situation? But
and in fact,
yeah.
When we use the word I, or what should I do now, there's something that's problematic about being too fused and sort of connected to a sense of I. That we get kind of stuck with our thinking. But when we say, what would the kind of person that I would like to be? What would that kind of person do? There's something about that distance which just liberates us to make more choices.
Yeah, because if you're saying what would I do, then it's the I that's done all the past decisions and choices. So you're not making new ones. You're going on your past behaviors, aren't you?
Exactly. And we all get caught up thinking that we are our pasts, that somehow the behaviors we've done in the past, it represents something innate in us. I'm the kind of person who never gets out of bed until such and such. I'm the kind of person who can't resist a third drink. I'm whatever. We all have this story, and it's a story. I'm the kind of person. We all behave like the kind of people we think we are. But it's just a story.
Yeah.
Sorry?
Or the kind of person we have been.
Yes, the kind of person we have been. And actually, we can unlink ourselves, untether ourselves from our past. We are not fixed individuals. We are processes. You and I are more like fires. The fire that's burning 1 minute, it's not actually the same fire 2 minutes later. It has changed. The flames have moved, different bits are burning.
Yeah.
A fire is a process. It's a happening. And you and I are happenings. And the wonderful thing is we get to choose. We don't have to do what we did in the past. If you were a speedboat going from the Isle of Wight, Tara, if you were in a speedboat and Miami Vice style, you were racing towards the mainland with a stash of, yes, with a white suit and some very dated hairstyle. If you were racing to the mainland, you would never think that your wake behind you could possibly control the destination of your speedboat. It can't.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
We all leave a wake in our lives. It does not define, it cannot control the decision, the direction that we take now. We have a liberty that we often don't realize, as I say, because we tell ourselves, oh, I'm the kind of person. No, you're not. You have extraordinary potential. You have much more flexibility to do things differently if you choose than you may imagine. Far, far more.
Yeah, I really like that. That's, who I am becoming is not who I have been. Definitely. Yeah.
No.
And like you said, that's a choice you have to make. Or you can stay stuck and just keep doing the same things over and over again and getting the same results. But that's fine if that's your choice.
Yes. And that's it. It's not up for us to inform other people. You really ought to change. I'm not happy with the way you've been doing things. You've got to change. No, we all need to worry about ourselves.
Yeah.
And we've got enough on our plates, I reckon, making our own choices about ourselves.
Yeah.
But what we can do is help others to know. And that's what I do in my book. I mean, letting people know how they can make their lives easier so that they can choose to be potentially something different. So that the idea that really generated the book came from another book. So there was a palliative care nurse in Australia called Bronnie Ware, and she wrote a book called The Top 5 Regrets of the Dying. So she was taking care of people in their last few days.
I have heard of that, actually. I have.
Yeah. It went wild over the planet, that meme, the top 5. Everyone wants to know, well, what are the top 5? And the top one regret that she heard more often than any other was this: I wish I'd had the courage to live a life true to myself, not the life that others expected of me.
It's really sad, isn't it?
Yeah. I wish I'd had the courage to live a life true to myself and not the life that others expected of me. And my book is an antidote to that, because we might not like to think about it, but actually all of us are hugely influenced by not just our families and their expectations, but our culture. So the UK culture, for example, has got some very well-defined ideas about what a woman of your age, with your cultural background, how you ought to be dressing, how you ought to be behaving in public, what's acceptable behavior that will be approved, and what behaviors are forbidden. Difference is not encouraged, and conformity is applauded. Often.
Definitely.
And we all like to think, oh, no, I'm not controlled by society, but you probably are. What's the length of your trousers? I expect it's probably about the same sort of height as most people. The sort of clothes we wear, that we all subtly conform to expectations. So it takes some skill to dehook from the expectations of society, and some courage to actually be willing to perhaps be yourself, the willingness to be different. That takes some courage.
When you see people walking down the street in clothes that aren't normal, for example, they do get looked at and they do get talked about and they get the glances. If they have a Mohican or something, or outrageous clothes, you can see the people looking and going, rolling
Well,
their
that's
eyes.
right. And we all do it to some degree. We don't like difference, and this is part of our tribal nature.
Mm.
We are attracted to people that are broadly the same as us, because it used to mean that you were safe. If you were the same sort of skin color and height as
Yeah.
me, it probably meant you were part of my tribe.
Yeah.
You were safe to be around. But if you were someone that was a bit wider or a bit taller or a bit something else, whoa, you're the other tribe.
Yeah.
And for a very, very long time, other tribes, they were not collaborative. When they find bones and bodies of our ancient ancestors, a high proportion of them have clearly had very violent ends. They've been fighting with others. So, it used to pay to be fearful of difference. But look, it's a different world now. We can probably accommodate a bit more difference.
Well, you would like to think so, wouldn't you? You'd like to think we've progressed slightly since those days, and we're not, we accept people that are different and outsiders, if you like. There's no reason why we shouldn't anymore, because they're not a threat to us, are they?
They're not. But when we feel anxious, and perhaps in a pandemic, for example, if you're feeling anxious or tired or stressed, then our ancient biases and reactive tendencies all come to the fore. So you'll see this a lot. When things get difficult, people will become more nationalistic, more tribal. And it's a skill to actually notice it happening in real time. Oh, I notice actually I'm beginning to be a bit judgmental of that person who's got a longer nose than I do, or whatever it is.
Judgmental, definitely. You judge people, don't you?
Yeah. And look, the mind is always going to judge people. There's no point trying to re-engineer your neurology. But we can get better at noticing when it's happening and then choosing to be kinder and more accepting.
So the main word here is choice. Yeah, I would say the main word here is choice.
It is.
We all have a choice, even when we don't think we do, and we need to understand that. Yeah.
It's about one, knowing. I think it's the most important thing, knowing you do have a choice.
Yeah.
But then two, practicing it and practicing doing the hard thing.
Yeah.
Because that's what we're really talking about, choosing to do what we'd rather not.
What's not been chosen before. No, that didn't come out right.
I know what you mean.
You know what I mean. The choices you haven't made before, or that other people may not make. It's about taking those steps and being courageous to take the choices that feel right to you, instead of choosing what you think other people would like you to choose. So.
Yes. It's about being willing to be with the discomfort in different situations. So in the workplace situation, for example, often around a meeting, people say, "Oh, just keep quiet. I've got an idea, but I won't say anything. Better not. I'll play it safe." Yeah. We play it safe a lot of the time. I won't apply for that job because they might just laugh at me. I might not get it. I couldn't face the rejection. Yeah. I won't take on new responsibility because it might go very badly wrong. We play it safe.
We do, yeah.
We stay in our comfort zone. And it's not because we're weak or flawed or defective. We're built that way to avoid being hurt.
People think there's something wrong with them, don't they? They think because they can't take those bold moves, they think, oh, it's me, I'm just useless, I'm just not brave enough. But it's not. We're all like that. Some of us just you have to just push yourself a bit more.
Well, sometimes pushing yourself is exactly the right thing. We need to use a bit of willpower and just make ourselves. But a lot of the time, willpower is the wrong tool. It's the go-to tool that people use. But when we use willpower, we're kind of steamrolling over our anxiety, aren't we? I'm going to do it. I'm going to pick up the call. I'm going to ask this person out. I'm going to do it. Hang on. Let me get ready. And we force ourselves to do it. Now, that's one strategy, all good. But a more emotionally intelligent strategy is to notice the anxiety and the worry, to notice the stories you're telling yourself.
Yeah.
Notice the thoughts. Oh, I'm having the thought that they'll laugh at me, that they won't like it, that others won't approve.
Yeah.
To get better at noticing our thinking, again, separating it from it, becoming a witness to our anxiety, our fear, our worries, our concerns, our embarrassment, becoming a witness to it. When we're a witness to it, we're much better placed to choose to take action, even while the worry is there. Not waiting to get rid of it. I'm not going to take action until I'm completely confident I'm going to get the result I want.
Yeah.
I'll just make sure I've got all the positive thoughts all in place, no negative thoughts. I'm not taking action while I've got any negative thoughts. I'm going to really work on my affirmations here, and I'm going to iron out that negativity. And as soon as that's done, I'm going for it. I'll tell you. So I think it's Seth Godin. If it has a lovely blog, Seth Godin said something like, if you wait until you're ready, you'll never do it.
No.
Yeah. We can't wait until ready. We need to develop the ability to take action in the presence of doubt, of anxiety, of worry. And we can do that by holding those worries and those doubts and those fears in a balanced awareness. And it's meditation is one of the things that helps us to become an observer of. And Tara Brach, the self-compassion researcher, world leader on the topic, she says, sorry, Tara Brach, Christine Neff. My apologies, Christine, if you're listening to the podcast, and she probably is. Christine Neff is the world's leading self-compassion researcher, and she says mindfulness is holding difficulty in balanced awareness. It's not pushing it away, and it's not indulging in it and having it flow through. Oh, I'm so anxious or angry or worried. It's actually holding it in balanced awareness. That's the kind of mindfulness we want to be able to develop, so that we can notice our fears and our worries and choose if we're going to take action or if we're going to listen to them. Because, sometimes the things we're worried about, crossing the road and there's a bus coming, sometimes it's a good thing you're afraid, and you really ought to wait until it's past.
Yes. Well, yes, that would be advisable if there was a bus coming toward you.
Yep.
Complete danger. Yes, that's different. So I'm going to put a link to your book in the show notes as well. And how else can people get in touch with you if they want to learn more about what you do and how you help people?
The best place is to go to the website, ericwinters.com.au. And actually on the very first page, right at the top, you've got the opportunity to download the start of my book. And what I'd say to your listeners is, if you do download it, you don't need to read every page. You'll know after reading the first page of my book whether or not it's written in a way that really resonates for you. I've tried to write a really accessible, fluff-free book. Too many books are padded out. They've got one core idea and they're padded out like an Amazon box is full of bubble wrap. Have you had that? In the middle, you've got this thing you ordered, but they're all around it. You've got to wade through
the box that it comes in. Yeah.
Yes. And I didn't want to write a book like that. So mine is just, it's bubble wrap free. And it's got a lot of ideas. So you can download the start of it from my website. If any of your listeners are in Australia, you can get a signed copy by ordering it from the website. Otherwise, it's on all online booksellers globally.
So anybody who wants a bubble wrap free book,
yes,
on how to swipe right on their best self. Okay.
Yes. Yeah. And all my talks and workshops that I run are all on the the website too.
Okay, perfect. So we'll put a link to that in the show notes as well. Any last wisdom words that you'd like to leave our listeners with today?
Well, there's one thing. There is one thing. I talk about it in the book, but I'm going to share it with you here. One of the things that holds people back is that they procrastinate their lives away. I'll do it tomorrow. I'll do it. And
we're very good at that.
We're all good. One of the reasons we procrastinate is it feels like we've got forever, that we don't have to. I've got plenty of time. Yeah. The reality is, and I call this the biggest elephant in the room. The reality is we're all going to die, and it's almost prohibited to I know. It's like saying there's no Father Christmas. You shouldn't. It's prohibited.
Yeah,
we're not allowed to talk about it. But you know what? It's true. We all want to self-soothe, so we put it out of mind. We try to forget about it. No. I don't want to think about death. Why be maudlin? Well, there's a cost. If you put it out of your mind entirely, you can end up thinking you've got forever. People who are unfortunately given so long to live are suddenly given this huge burst of vitality to live well while they can. Accepting our mortality, if done skillfully, will actually give you enormous impetus to get on and live life now while you can. And the good news is you don't need to wait for a diagnosis in order to get this burst of activation energy. You can do it by going to a website called count.life, COUNT.LIFE.
Okay.
Go there. I'll only ask you 2 questions. It'll say, when were you born? And how long do you think you're going to live? I like to give myself 100 years, and I'd suggest your listeners do the same thing. Be generous. Yeah. You press enter, and it presents you with a brick wall. Every brick is a week of your life. It shows in one color all the weeks you've already lived, and it shows in another color all the weeks you've got left, assuming you get to 100. There's something very sobering, Tara, about seeing the weeks of your life visually, not trying to conceive it in your head, but having it's very real, I tell you. And you look at it and you go, I thought there were more. There's a real sense of and it stops, and it really brings home that we've only got so long. And I'd encourage your listeners actually to look at that just once a week, because it just briefly, we're not dwelling on it and weeping and wailing. We're just looking at it briefly. Okay, quick reminder. Yep, that's it. This is what I've got. Let's get on with it.
Oh, or I've just wasted another week by procrastinating.
Yes. Yeah. But I do want people shouldn't be feeling disheartened, because yes, most of us have procrastinated months, if not years. But let's make choices now about how we're going to show up in the weeks that we do have. It's the most precious thing we have, our time alive. There's nothing more valuable in your life. Not your iPhone 12, no. Not your expensive fragrance, whatever it might be. Not the car, not the job, nothing else. It's our lives, the minutes of our lives. Nothing is more precious. And it's worth just reminding ourselves occasionally that they are finite and irreplaceable.
That's quite a sobering thought, isn't it?
It is. And the temptation is to say, I'm going to push that sobering thought out of my mind. But if we do that, we run the risk of sharing the number one regret of the dying.
Yeah, I was going to say, it brings it back to that, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I wish I had.
We don't want to be getting to the if only. No, the time to live boldly and courageously in work, in our businesses, and in our relationships.
Yeah.
It's now. Definitely. Be bold.
Love it. Love it. Thank you so much, Eric. That was amazing. So I'm going to put the links in the show notes as well. So people can get in touch with you. They can have a quick read of the first part of your book. I'm sure everyone's going to go over now and probably crash the website of the count.live because everyone is going to be on there going, oh my God, how many weeks have I got left?
Do it. Yeah. You can't be unaffected. I tell you, after looking at that, you can't be unaffected. And in a good way.
Yes, I'm going to be going there in a minute when we come off.
Yeah, do it. Only takes a second.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for joining me today, Eric. And I hope you have a good evening over there. Hopefully, I'm going to get my dinner. Going to go. Oh my God. Oh, I'm sorry. You must be hungry.
I'm absolutely famished. You are between me and my dinner, Tara. That's right. And it is a bit chilly. I'm going to make something hot because we're in midwinter here.
Yes. Oh, we're in summer, so we're going for light food. Well, I hope you enjoy your dinner and your evening. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for listening to the Happy, Inspired, Motivated podcast. I'll be back next week bringing more meditation, mindset, and motivation for your happy and successful life. To find out more about our community, go to tarachatzakis.com/happy, inspired, motivated.